Well, good afternoon, everybody. To all of our viewers, we hope that everybody is safe and healthy during this time. To our members and guests, we really appreciate you all tuning in, and we are just super excited and really looking forward to today's conversation on what our new normal looks like in the events industry. So we will have a Q&A portion towards the end. Our senior events coordinator, Ayana, will be tracking those for us. I know that everybody's anxious to hear from our panelists, so I'll go ahead and start with introductions. Feel free to give a wave or say hello once you're introduced. So we have Gabrielle Mecca, President of Edge Design Group, Jade Lee, Owner and Creative Director of Jade Lee Events, Steve Moore, Account Manager with Affairs to Remember, and Christian Ruffin, Owner of One Stop Productions. Thank you guys so much for being a part of today's conversation. Our first question will really be for everybody. We've been quarantined for weeks now, social distancing from our family, our friends, our teams. How's everybody coping during this time?
Well, I'll start if you don't mind. It was a big shock. It was a jolt because we went from 100 to 0 with our events and in our community, as I know everybody's felt. The first couple weeks, I spent, spending time with the dogs and reading and trying to just kind of have some kind of routine. I've cooked more than I've ever wanted to in my life. But now that it's set in, I think we're all trying to now figure out what the future looks like and chart a path for how it's going to look and what we're going to do and how we can lead. For me, it's been positive and motivating to connect with people, do these kind of things and see people. That's kept my spirits lifted, and knowing that as a community, and if we work together, we're gonna come out of this. But it was scary and it was frightful. But I think we have to stay positive and, figure out what we're going to look like moving forward.
So I'll jump in after Gabrielle. Kind of the same thing. If you would have told me a month ago or 2 months ago that we would be sitting in this situation, I would have never believed you. I went from a massive event on the first Friday of March, and people were, you saw the hand sanitizers, you saw things like that. And even one of the guests of honors had just flown in from China.
Wow.
So to fast forward to a week and a half later, we're sitting at home. It has definitely been an adjustment. It's been a good adjustment though. At Affairs, we went into create and innovate. That was our kind of tagline for those first 2 weeks. And reconnecting, whether it's reconnecting with our clients or reconnecting with our vendors. I know I reached out to Jade and Gabrielle and you, Samantha. Probably the oddest thing is being in a neighborhood where you have to wave and talk to people from across the street. So that's been an adjustment. We're now seeing the phones ringing again, which is a good sign. I think everybody's been in the same place that we all have. It was like that first 2 weeks of March, it was uncertainty. And then Easter happened, and especially our social clients, they're like, we're done. I'm ready to start planning a wedding. I'm ready to get back. So we've seen a lot more of that happen now. So that's a good sign. That's a really good sign.
I think for us as planners, we sort of had to jump in immediately in terms of damage control. So, we had an event the weekend that everything shut down. And so, it started with us trying to, have our caterer come in and put all these things in place for sanitization stations and making sure that, everything was good to go on that end. And that was a Friday, Saturday. And then come Sunday, everything was basically shut down. So, I spent the last couple of weeks basically moving weddings around, convincing people, because people really don't want to move their events. So right now I'm convincing all the summer weddings that they need to move to the end of the year or 2021. So that's been a crazy ordeal for us. So, you know, it's mostly been client management for us.
Yeah.
Well, I know on my side, it's been I think from a me standpoint, it's given me more time than I have ever had in my life to do things for myself, my family, which is, I think everything has a way to bring people back to center. You know, obviously going from, you know, one of the best projected fiscal years that we were on, as far as, you know, the existence of our company, and going to zero was a shocker. But you know, we just figured out things to be more creative to keep at least the guys going, the guys that work with us. And heck, let me say, my even though my backdrop doesn't look like Gabrielle's, my kitchen is organized, my office is organized, my warehouse is organized. We've created new racks, and some of our clients, you know, are actually now turning to things like this streaming. We've helped a lot of people and done a lot of things that we have not done, particularly on a mass level, now to the forefront, like helping our clients stream. That's the new thing. Streaming from home. It's not, you know, for events, and I think Steve and everyone can agree, you know, doing it from an event is one thing because you have a full production team, but when you have people streaming from from an event space, but when you have people streaming now from their homes, it's just totally different. You'd be amazed at how many people don't have a hard line. Everybody's Wi-Fi. The world is just, you know, Wi-Fi tethered almost in such a sense. So it's been a good but creative moment as what to do next and what to prepare for 2021, 2022. What does the world look like for us? That's a socially in tune meeting of minds all the time, where touch and feel and sight is everything in person, not via the screen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And totally agree with you, Chris. You know, I think that this has been just a huge reset for all of us, you know, in a lot of ways. And I mean, I don't think that anybody here has seen anything like this before, right? But has anybody seen anything similar? And if so, how did you recover?
So probably the thing that we've seen is 9/11, and then we also saw the recession. But this is a whole different ballgame because people have money. They want to celebrate, you know, they want to get out of their houses. They just can't. So
there we go. See.
I think the other side, go ahead.
I think we lost you for a second.
Okay, yeah, my internet acting up. It happens when you have a lot of people working from in one neighborhood. Your internet kind of bops in. But what I was saying is, yeah, it is because people want to spend money. They just don't know when they can do it. You know, at least the recession, you didn't have money, so you couldn't spend it. If it was 9/11, there was, you know, a sadness, but you knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel. Right now, can we go out in May? Can we go out in June? And now, is this going to come back in September, October? You know, people are still very, very cautious about that.
Well, I think the closest thing, and I agree with Steve, but I think the closest thing that's affected Atlanta in such a way would be, I would take us back to the Olympics. When we had all the business in the world and we were already loaded into shows, and then all of a sudden Atlanta became on lockdown because of the bomb. So that's what I relate to, like something that stopped us from working in a sense of, okay, we've got to revamp. I mean, obviously we finished the Olympics, but you know, that changed security, that changed on how, you know, we did the rest of the events. Thank God it didn't stop the money flow because everyone's paid by the time we had loaded in. But no, as far as the reaction of how we had to operate, that is the closest. It's never been an opportunity where nobody's working, nobody's going anywhere. But as far as something that jarred the industry head on in 24 hours, that was it in my books.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've never, you know, I think in my generation that we've never experienced anything of this scale and magnitude that has impacted literally every single person. Nobody has been immune to this. And, you know, we were fortunate during the recession that we were in such a niche, you know, segment of doing luxury weddings that we were growing during that time period. So we were we were a little isolated in that sense that we were still, producing events and doing events, and we were very fortunate. So I think this is unprecedented, obviously, and we have to kind of figure out how we're going to adapt to that. And kind of like what Christian said, I mean, as far as 9/11 goes, we adapted to a new protocol, in airports and airlines. And I think we're going to start having to think that way as we move forward in events and figure out what are the new protocols. What are we going to do as a community to ensure that our clients are safe and feel safe and vendors feel protected, and that we have to put our heads together because this is uncharted and it affects everybody. It's not just the client, it's the vendors too. And we have to be mindful of, so many other components, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And, on that note, with it affecting everybody, right? And Steve, to your point of people have the money right now, just nowhere to spend it. How's everybody connecting with their clients? I know we sat in on a few webinars where some relationships they've been tampered because of the contracting process, and then deposits are lost and there's rebooking fees. And, how are we connecting with our clients this time?
Well, I'll say that some of our clients, and it's always hard when trying to explain to someone that, returning their deposit and money and things like that. But I'll give an example. I'll give two good examples and I'll be really quick. But for example, a client like the Atlanta International School that we do production for their event every year. Well, they can't have that event, and them being an international school just poses a whole nother window of people's concerns. But so even though we weren't streaming their event, they came to us, and we went to them. They were like, listen, we understand we deposits are paid. What can we do to still have our gala? So the gala is an actual fundraiser, which is good for them. So they're actually going to still do their gala, but just with their headmaster and auctioneer at the school, broadcast it to all of their students' parents. And we're helping them stream that event and do it as a show, and do it as social distance safe as we can. Minimal people in the room, just the two people speaking, that type of scenario. And so a lot of our clients are now looking at more creative ways. Well, how can we still get to our to our masses and continuing to keep them engaged? So that's and I'll stop at that example, but that is one of the ways that we've sort of taken a bad situation of can't have an event, money's out the door, and and we're not charging them to do that. It's all about, listen, this is not what you hired us for, but we value you as a client, and we value your business in 2021, hopefully, when it comes back, when we can safely get back to it. And I say that sparingly, but I just don't see big gatherings anytime before the end of the year. I would love it if it did, trust and believe, but that's one of the things that we're doing to try and help ease the pain of our clients going away for this year's, this fiscal year.
At affairs, we launched a new curbside delivery service to put us back out there to connect with our clients. We're also launching a Mother's Day special, and then Meal Bridge, which is a sponsorship kind of hand in hand with some of our corporate partners, where if they donate 20 meals, we donate 20 meals to people directly on the front line. To Christian's point, you touched on something. So this is kind of tricky because it's a PR, you've really got to watch your PR with this but understand that COVID-19 affected everybody, not just the clients. So our clients need to be a little understanding, but also you don't want that bad review. So you kind of have to take it as a case-by-case basis, which is what we've done at affairs. From what I've heard through the industry, we've had probably the most lenient with postponing, rebooking, and refunding deposits. But we're looking at it as, hey, I don't want to upset a client right now for something I have out of my control, who could potentially give me 5 more pieces of business or tell 10 people that they didn't like the way I treated them.
Sure, definitely. And I think, this is our industry, right? This has been our livelihoods for many years. So our clients are always top of mind for us. So I think they're definitely appreciating kind of any little thing that we can do to accommodate them during this time. Jade, for you in the planning space, right, which is it's a niche and it's a luxury service in the world of events, right? How are planners pivoting during this time?
So, I think we do a lot of destination weddings, of course, and we do a lot of South Asian weddings. So we have a large number of people coming in from other countries. So just kind of monitoring what's happening on the news, I'm really encouraging people to push to 2021. That's the safest bet because we don't know when borders are going to reopen. We don't know how, Kemp opening up things this Friday is going to impact Atlanta overall. So I think the safest bet for us is, we're really encouraging people to push to 2021. And I think it's a little bit scary for us as well, because I think people have money now, but are people going to have money in a year from now if people, continue to get laid off? So that's something we're also kind of looking at and dealing with too.
Yeah, and how have clients been receiving, your guidance of pushing to 2021, especially brides? They have this vision, they have their date, this is what they want. How are we keeping them encouraged and, getting them to rescheduling? And
well, I think brides are devastated. There's no way to sugarcoat it. But I think just giving them the encouragement that hopefully by 2021, things will be a little bit back to normal. I don't know if we'll ever get back to 100% normal, but at least in 2021, people will be moving around a little more freely than what we're seeing now. So I think there's a little bit of hope there to, look forward to 2021 weddings.
Yeah.
If I can piggyback on that, just because, most of our business is focused on weddings as well. Much like Jade, those first 2 weeks, we were directly reaching out to our clients, talking to them on the phone, trying to reschedule our brides and working with the planners to figure out, when we can reschedule so that they keep all their same vendors, which I imagine is extremely challenging. But we were successfully able to postpone all of our summer brides for later this fall and then also next year. And so as disappointing as that is, I think there's a lot of hope there. There's so much planning. We've spent 8-12 months on these weddings. And there's a lot of disappointment. At first, we sent those initial clients that had to reschedule care packages that just kind of like go out and say like, we're thinking about you. We support you. We know this is disappointing. We know this is upsetting. But we're here for you. And we want to be here for you because there are going to be celebrations and there are going to be weddings. And I can speak firsthand on that because I'm trying to plan my wedding. So, this all unraveled. I was like, okay, I'm ready to start planning. And then all of this happened. So I can empathize, and it's disappointing, but there's something to be hopeful about.
Yeah, definitely. And Steve, on the catering side, you're working with several venues across the city. Do you find yourself collaborating with them more than ever during this time, trying to find, solutions for clients and just better ways to work together?
Absolutely. The sales team at Affairs has been reaching out to all of our venue partners and trying to find out like what's their plan on reopening? What does the social distancing look like from that standpoint? As well as requesting virtual tours, because the people who want to tour, who can't get in, it's a good way for them to at least see it. So we're really trying to partner with them and support them because, it's just as hard for them as it is for everybody else. I'm working with Mason. Mason's kind of like my baby because we have the beverage portion there. So I've been in contact with Kelly pretty much every day, By the way, side note, everybody out there who has kids who have been teaching from home, oh my God, y'all are amazing. So hats off to you guys for doing that. But Kelly and I have been working together on rescheduling some of her people, cleaning up some of the, redoing her, almost like a rebranding. Like we're working on new sales kits, new bar packages. So, you know, when we do come out of this and the people who cannot come into the venue necessarily, they have a beautiful view of what the venue and what the packages look like there.
And, you know, just chiming on that, and first of all educators should, when we get out of this, I'm going to Congress, they need $1 million, period. Homeschooling is no
100%.
joke. And I have 2 young ones, a 2, a 3, and a 4-year-old. New way of life. But to really chime on that, you hit right on it. One of our clients, the Civil Rights Museum, we do a big gala for them every year, and obviously we can't have that gala. And so one of the things that they came to us with just recently, we were literally on site yesterday, is that we're creating a virtual tour of the Civil Rights Museum. And they've never had that. I mean, they've had, you know, I'm sure you can see visuals of the museum online, but a tour that will allow people to experience the Civil Rights Museum, which is important. That's one of the main things here in Atlanta and in downtown that's brought downtown back to life. So to be working with people like that now that say, hey, we can't do our event, but what can we do to still engage our end users? So that's started to be one of the new streams of what our production company is doing to help bring and continue and get ready for business for, you know, the next time that we're allowed to go back live. And besides that, we still are now, this is the time to do filming because there's no one in the Civil Rights Museum. Going there yesterday and it was empty. I was like, man, I bought out the whole place. But reality sinking in quick when I'm walking with, you know, 3 of my other team members and we're just taking notes. So it's been a creative challenge and way to get more, to think about how to get more of our clients engaged in, hey, you can't do this, but you can do this. And this is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And speaking of virtual, one of the things that I've seen kind of pop up are, you know, virtual tastings, right? Is there anything like that you guys have been thinking of that, you know, we do now, but will now be a virtual experience? And how does everybody feel about virtual tastings? I'm actually curious to hear everybody's feedback on that.
That's one thing that I wouldn't trust. I mean, I can virtual shop, you know, but you kind of have to touch it. Yeah, you know, you have to taste it. I mean, come on, you know, that shrimp and grit might look good in that virtual tour, but at your wedding, that would not be cute, you know? So no, there may be something to like delivering, like maybe a Uber Eats or a curbside delivery service that drops your meal off with reheating instructions, things like that. And now you and the salesperson are kind of talking through it, but still, you just don't know. There's so many variables that could go wrong and you could actually lose the business on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would definitely say no to virtual tastings. I've done many tastings with Steve and I'm like a food critic, so we definitely need to be there tasting it. But for a company like Affairs, they could definitely do virtual tours of their showroom. You could look at plates. Potentially, if you may have tasted a few things at another event, you might want to look at presentation of food, but tastings need to happen in real time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Virtual drinking is a winner though. Maybe that's safe. Just for the record, Steve, Jay, I'm sorry. That works. I've tried it. It works.
Yeah.
I love that. We'll have to add that on to our services, Chris.
You know, shout outs to one, Erin with Ann Barge. She's doing Try on Tuesdays, which I thought was brilliant. You know, that you can actually see a model, try on the dress, see it up close and everything. I think that's an amazing marketing way.
Yeah, I love that. Gabby and Chris, so you two kind of fall in the bracket of services where you don't necessarily have to social distance, right? You can still do your work, ask for a couple of hours additional for load in, no staff there, you know, no guests there yet. So have you all had to diversify your services at all during this time?
We haven't looked at it as a diversification as much as honing in on our craft and really getting ready to be prepared when we're back out there. I think we all are going to have to pivot, and we have to accept those challenges that come, with our industry and with this change. But we've been looking at it more from a stance of, just sharpening kind of our tools and what we have to offer, and, working on projects in the background, much like everybody else has said, and, figuring out ways to better service the client, just still in the realm of what we do, but just doing it better.
Mm-hmm.
I think the correct thing, and it's been a different scenario for us. Like, for example, the walkthrough yesterday was way different than I've ever done a walkthrough in my life. The way we do, we had on gloves. I supply gloves to my team. I supplied the facial covers. I talked to them about, hey, this is what we're doing. We're going here. We need to be careful. If you don't want to go, you do not have to go. I never want to pressure anyone that works for me or works alongside me, or even the client. Like, it's not that serious. Life is more important. So when you have people trying to take those type of precautions, I think it's getting us ready for what we're going to have to do tomorrow and the day after tomorrow and next month. You might as well realize that we might have to wear face masks, and it's not the most fashionable thing to do, but it is a reality of the new way of what we do. And everybody on this panel, we do events. It's with people. That's how a room full of nobody is not an event. I don't care what you say. So that's some of the things that we're doing to prepare ourselves, not only for just today, for tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, right now.
Yeah, and I think that's a great segue to our next question, which is, we're protecting our teams, our staff, right? How are we going to protect our clients and guests to feel comfortable going to events again?
Okay, I'll jump in on that one. Well, first and foremost, we're going to have to listen, look to the government officials and the CDC for what that looks like. We can all, hey, yeah, we're going to have hand sanitizing stations, try to keep people 6 feet apart from each other. One of the webinars I was on yesterday, they actually did gaffer's tape and laid out what 6 feet looks like, which is great, from a lineup standpoint. But we also don't want to become security officers and try to police people. The last thing I want to do is walk up to a bride and her brother or somebody at a wedding and say, hey, you can't hug each other. So we really need to watch that. Gloves, definitely. Masks, definitely. And really, it's things that we already know that we should be doing, but as society, we've got a little lax with. So, from a venue standpoint, I've been in contact with venues. They haven't really said much about it yet. I think they're waiting to hear what the stipulation is going to be from higher up.
Some of the things that we've talked about, in addition to what Steve's saying, in the sanitizing stations, and eventually I think there might be potentially temperature taking stations, or, testing ideally is what's going to, I think, make the most impact to make people feel comfortable when we get to that point. But potentially, in the meantime, smaller guest counts and fewer people at tables. I know that's been, something that people have been talking about. I've heard people talking about more outside events because it just makes people feel more comfortable. Obviously, weather is going to impact that. But I think kind of going back, we're, to your point earlier, we're kind of there before and after, and we have to take precautions as a team with our interaction with the client and the people, other vendors. I think it's going to be more challenging for, planners and catering and obviously AV too, that's there throughout the duration of the event. Those are going to be the challenges.
For sure. So I think definitely masks at this point for everyone. I think it's going to be extremely difficult for people to stay 6 feet apart at weddings, even with smaller guest counts. These are your family, your closest friends. You want to be near them. So I don't know that people are going to feel 100% comfortable until we get some sort of a vaccination or, you know, something like that. I think it'd be amazing if we could get those thermal scanners. So like when people are entering into venues, they can, you know, we can see if they have temperatures. That would be amazing. And we definitely rely heavily on the catering companies with the sanitization processes, you know, because they have the hand washing stations and the gloves. I mean, I think that with buffets and like the way we serve food, that stuff might change. So I think buffets need to be completely off the table. Stations probably need to be completely off the table. We want to be looking at like plated dinners, serving them right to guests, and of course, like skipping seats. So maybe we're doing, instead of 60-inch rounds, which are standard at most venues, we're using 72-inch rounds and putting, you know, 6 people at them. Which, to Gabrielle's point, we're going to have a lot less people at these events. So yeah.
Just to jump in on what Jade said, I agree. Buffets will definitely go away. We're going to see maybe chef attended stations, you know, where this one person's building. You won't see a lot of, hey, let me go up and build my own plate. Plated will definitely be an option. And I think you're going to see some really cool station designs coming out of here to kind of protect people, like some kind of layer in between, you know. So we've started innovating some of that at affairs. So we're looking to roll it out.
Yeah, awesome. I think, you know, we're all hopeful that we'll recover, you know, within due time, but also it's going to be really exciting to see just all of the innovative things that our industry, you know, comes up with. So I know all of us will be looking forward to that. You know, what has been the most challenging thing for everybody?
I think for me, I'll start it off. It's just figuring out what comes next. When does it come back, and how? I mean, those are my three big questions. And as Jade mentioned earlier, like we were talking about, my team is being creative. Like, hey, let's go ahead and design a system where it will take the temp for our clients coming into the events. But you know, some of the things I think we have to all wrap our heads around, and the government, I won't even get into that type of stuff, but we've got to understand the virus, honestly, because there's so many people that are asymptomatic. So, I mean, you cannot have a temp and still carry it. It's so, we're playing with fire. And it's almost like, you can open up Atlanta Friday, I'm good, I'm staying at home. I mean, I'll let you all figure it out. And then we'll then say, well, let me tell you what I know we can't do is 6 feet apart really needs to be 12 feet. Like we're trying to plan off of not enough information. It's a hypothesis that can't get a theory until we get a grasp on, you know, how this thing really affects people. So, you know, I am my biggest question to, you know, that I've asked to some of my friends that are in other industries. I happen to have a restaurant background, and you know, I'm thinking about like how do the event spaces work now? How do the restaurants work now? How do we figure what's safe and what's not? You know, even from, and I'm being totally off the event world, but I talked to my barber the other day, and he was like, "We're opening up," and I was like, "Good luck. I'm not coming, but I'll keep on trying to do my shape ups here." But I'm like, how can you guarantee me that someone else, you know, that the space is perfect? And I think once Jade, where she was going, once we can assure that, then I think we can relax. But it's hard to relax unsure right now. It's just hard.
I think one of the most difficult.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I think one of the most difficult things for us is that, you know, I am like the bearer of bad news to people, you know, and which is tough because I'm the one that has to be like, no, you can't have your wedding in June of 2020. Like it doesn't make sense. You know, so that's really been tough. And, you know, going back to what Christian was saying, like, you know, I have 2 young kids and my husband, and like, we're opening up things on Friday, but we're not going anywhere. My kids are not leaving the house for the foreseeable future. Neither are me and my husband. I would not be comfortable right now executing a wedding in the next 90 days. you know? So it's definitely a challenge.
Mhm.
But in a good stance, this is the time that we're helping our clients plan for the things coming up. And there are some things you can do safely. Going out to the Civil Rights Museum was scary, a little scary for me, but I was like, okay, I've got Lysol in my truck. I've got gloves on. I've got a mask on. I'm being I know there's only 6 people going to be here. But, we risk our lives going to the grocery store. I mean, we don't go Instacart. I should have gotten stock in that one. But, I mean, that is the way of life now, at least for me and my family and the people around me. But we just have to get super creative on what we do and planning with our clients the things that we know are coming up. New gathering spots that are opening up in DC and in LA. I mean, we can do things like that work safely and be ready for what the world is like in January 2021.
Definitely. Gabby, did you want to jump in before?
I just kind of piggybacking on what everybody said. I mean, the most challenging thing is the unknown, and that's really hard for us because we are such planners and detail-oriented people, and we want to know every aspect of what's going on with our events, and so we apply that to our everyday lives, and that's hard to not have that control, at least for me personally.
Yeah.
And so that's been really challenging, and obviously the emotional component of it with clients, that's been very difficult. And two, with our team, like we are a smaller team, but we are an extremely close team, and we're creative people and we thrive on collaboration, and that's been hard to not have that energy. And so we've done Zoom calls together, and that's been really helpful, I think, for our team, and to kind of get on the same page and encourage each other, because it is difficult. It's been hard being apart.
Yeah, absolutely. We have quite a few questions in our Q&A chat, so excited to move on to those. But last question before we get to that is just, what's been everyone's silver lining in all of this?
White Claw.
I'm more of a Truly fan, but okay.
Yeah, Truly, yes. I should have purchased stock in all of those seltzers.
I'll just say, I think the silver lining out of all of this is I'm not. I mean, I'm no preacher, am I? I just think it's given me enough time to sort of refocus and think back. What's really important now, and as much as I love money and material things and all that other good stuff, we're down to basics. Everybody's on the same playing field now. There's nobody. It doesn't matter what type of whip you drive or all the jewelry you have. At the end of the day, you have nowhere to go to wear it. You can't drive me. So now we're forced to be. Jade, we got 2 little ones. Like, we walk down and feed the ducks now every day. There are things that I would have never had time to do now that we're doing now, and that is really my true silver line. And I've been encouraging the guys on my team. I send them links. I'm like, hey, let's learn a new craft. Let's be the experts of this when we come out of this. And those are some of the things. You want to be more than a grip. Okay, let me show you how to how to get sharp in lighting. We've got to keep not just ourselves encouraged, but the people that we work with encouraged, because they're the ones, especially in my industry where we use a lot of labor hands. They're the ones that are hurting the most, and that is probably the scariest part. Like, just making sure I've never dealt into, like, what's your healthcare situation look like? I know you're a 1099, but I care about, like, how are you handling that? And I don't have to do, but karma's a what, and it comes back. So, and they might not appreciate it now, but they'll appreciate it later. But those are the things that I think I would have never taken time to do some of these things that I'm doing now as a person, as a being. And I think it'll make me as a better person going back into the new year, just hey, life is short. Tomorrow's not promised. Business is not promised. We see that. Like, I've never not had income coming in. Thank goodness for some of the things that we are doing now. But it's the whole world is turned off, and that is what's, you know, shockingly to everyone, I think.
Yeah, that beautifully spoken, Chris. I think we could just end there. Great inspiration for
My point wasn't to end this like that. I'm sorry.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into our Q&A. We have quite a few questions here, so we will try to get to all of them. But Ayana, take it away.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for all of your insight. I do see a couple of questions here about insurance. And so the questions are more so concerning like liability insurance for events and how we as venues as well as vendors will be protecting ourselves and conducting business later on this year and the next. So does anyone have any insight on event insurance?
I've sat in on a couple of webinars that have talked about this. What I would say is get with your agent and your lawyer and write it up and address it from there. I know one of the first ones I said on, you know, a lot of the companies had written in that pandemics are not covered. So this again it's a different scenario here, and you really have to, you know, make sure you read the fine print of everything now. Force majeure, same thing. You know, this is a force majeure is great if it covers ice storms. This is not ice storm, you know. And until the government made a yes, we're sheltering in place, you're kind of on your own, like that first 2 weeks, because there was not an official word. So I again, just kind of going back, you know, really talk to your legal team and your insurance person to come up with what works in your scenario.
You know, jumping on what Steve just said, and I joked about it yesterday, but I decided what I was going to do is go look over our insurance coverage and see all the things that they say they don't cover, because obviously they knew about pandemics, because that's one of the things, and you go like, oh, I don't need that. I mean, that'll never happen. I think I almost want to just go get coverage on everything that's on that list of check items that we don't have, and just to cover any loss. I mean, because those are the loopholes, unfortunately, that they use to not pay out. And I love my insurance agent and all that other good stuff, but it brings to the forefront of like things that we have to be prepared for. You think about wage losses and things like that, but do you ever think about, has anyone ever thought that a pandemic would hit the world? Not even just Atlanta, Georgia, but the world. It's things now to consider. I joke about it with my friends. I'm joking about it now, but I really want to look at that small script on the bottom of the paper and like, look, this is the stuff I need coverage on, because you know what? It's probably going to happen if you all saying that you don't cover. I mean, that's the way to look at it now.
Okay. So I am also seeing a lot of questions about the future of virtual events. And so I think that this is a good question for Chris, as far as like the potential for the future of live streaming, whether that is more virtual reality, audience engagement, like what are your, like what do you see some future ideas for virtual events and live streaming to be?
I mean, obviously, I think any production company that's not now able to stream needs to be ready to stream. One of the things that we started doing pre this C19 thing is we were building up new video racks to be able to stream. Like that was something we wanted to be ready for. And then this came into play and we're like, oh my God, definitely, you know, order 2 more video streaming consoles. Like that's something I think our industry has to be prepared for. I mean, there's so many futuristic things. I mean, the funniest thing about it is that a lot of the technology and the gear comes out of China. And so I look at them, and I have a very good contact over in China, and we look at them, I've been studying what they're doing because they're already ahead of this curve of experiencing what we're going through now. So I think we can learn a lot from what they're doing overseas versus to understand what we need to adapt to quickly here. Because apparently we didn't adapt to other things as quick as we should have. So when you look at things like, holograms, I mean, you start getting to things that are expensive for our clients, even though Jade probably has clients that can afford the holograms, but you're trying to think about what the new event space will look like. Will it ever be, I'm sure it will be, but how soon will we be able to do an event with 2,000 people, and how do we fit those in the spaces now that were designed to be big? They were already tight, Jade and Gabrielle, when we were doing events, but now you've got a 10,000 square foot ballroom and they're saying, oh, you can have 200 people in here. So, I think we've got to be able to make, we are all laughing because we're scratching our heads like, oh, what is this going to look like? So I think us being able to have the ability to have an event with the necessity people right now there and being able to bring that event to life in the most charismatic, eye-stimulating way, it's almost production Grammy show looking that it needs to look like for people to tune in on their screens at home to keep them engaged and involved. Of course, unless you put Babyface and Teddy Riley up. I mean, those are the things that you've got to look at, like, how do we creatively get people? And sometimes simple is better. Maybe they just want to see the room, or maybe they want to see every camera angle switch. And so there's not an answer yet to your question, but we are consistently trying to figure out is what do we design that can be cool, that will make the people at this event feel like, hey, I don't feel like it's only 10 people here. And how do we make the end users at home that are watching this right now say, like, Chris's background and Steve's background suck, Gabrielle, everybody else's looks super cool. And, and I'm going to keep on watching just because I'm going to call Gabrielle, like, can you come and help me out in my office? That scenario. So I think it's an ongoing tangible moment now, and whoever can create the most thing that makes the most sense, still being remotely cost effective, is what's going to drive the next segment. Like, this is the it thing to do for events.
Can I chime in on what Christian was saying? To that point, where it was a 200-person meeting in a small space, there may be 10 of the VPs executive, beautiful dinner, high touch, beautiful table, and then the rest will be streamed out to the other 170, 180 people who couldn't attend. I think us as professionals, with this high touch that will probably come in, we really need to make sure we're producing that event. So the budget that was now for 200 people, we're doing for 50. So they're really going to pay attention to detail, like, beautiful china, beautiful centerpieces. So I'm a little excited about that because I do like a very formal event. And I feel like this is going to help usher that in.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And so I think we'll take just one more question from the audience. It looks like a lot of folks are wondering about how we are, as companies, handling rebookings and refunds for our clients.
So I think the biggest thing is to encourage your clients to reschedule and not cancel. I mean, everyone wants to have their event at some point. So for us, we've rescheduled or are working to reschedule 100% of people.
Yeah, the same with us. I mean, we were able to, and we're going to continue to work closely with those clients, especially the brides, that have already rescheduled and might have to do it again. And we're encouraging them to stay with it. And, for us, there's a lot of work that goes into the process beforehand. And so it's a sticky situation when you're dealing with refunds and retainers and things like that, because a lot of us put a lot of work into it beforehand, and that's compensation that they don't always recognize it in that way. And you have to educate them and say, we've done work for you. This was not just towards the day of. So I think it's a lot of education and reminding and, and just trying to let them see it from your perspective as well, and do the best that you can.
I think, Gabrielle, you hit right on it. Like, a lot of our clients don't understand the things that we do that are not necessarily written down in paper, before that happens, before the events. From CAD drawings, from creating it, from passing fire marshal plans, all that other stuff that I know, at least on my side, that we do for some of our clients for events. But Steve touched on it earlier too. It's a client by client situational thing that we have to address and make sure that we make them feel comfortable. And I would say 90% of our events were postponed. Well, I would say even like 98%. Mm-hmm. Some of them that just can't happen, that because either kids were graduating, so we can't do this gala fundraiser for that we need for right now funds. You have to try and work with them the best that you absolutely can, because at the end of the day, it's your reputation and the rapport that you have with people that drives the business. So, that's sort of been our take on just working with each one and saying, hey, I've went as far as to say, listen, this deposit that you paid, I will hold it for next year. Like, when we have to, because a lot of these are annual events that we do. It's not like just one-offs. Like, and it's large. It's hard to do that, but because as a company now that has no income, those funds are now, besides what we used for preparing for that event, are going for all the other things that we have to cover now: rent, light bills, electric, all that other good stuff. But it's more important for me to have that client next year and the year after that than to lose them over a few dollars of a deposit and not have the relationship.
Exactly. And asking them, hey, since your annual event, what if we book the next 2 years out? So we've got you secured in your venue, because these events that have been pushed back, they've got to be rebooked. And I think that's the big question about the rebooking fees and things like that. So, especially with galas, proms, anything like that, see if you can secure them for 2 years and maybe work with them on the deposit or the postponing fee. We're doing the same thing. We're encouraging our clients to postpone. Unfortunately, we had a lot of proms, but that, going back to, what really hurt is the seniors didn't really get to have their special moment. But what some of the deposits that we have, we're looking at, hey, if you can do a senior drive-back pickup to get your diploma, what if we did like a little bag of popcorn or something to at least make you feel special? I said it before and I'll say it again, each client has to be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. And you want to be understanding, but at the end of the day, keep in mind, you have bills that have to be paid too. So while, all of us have been that nice person that, I want to give it back to you. Well, keep in mind, we run a business here. People do think that, we throw parties and it's great. I mean, when I did makeup, everybody wanted a free makeover, but I don't do drag. So this is just purely business right here. Same thing. We love Jade. You love planning beautiful events. Gabrielle, you love making beautiful centerpieces. Christian, you love, putting a beautiful event out there. But all that costs money. So just sticking to your guns with that and really being understanding, but also saying, there has to be some compromise if you have to refund some money.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I think that was a great question for us to end or close our Q&A. So thank you, Ayana. Thank you for all of the questions from our audience. Sadly, our time has almost come to an end, but before we say goodbye for now, just want to do a really quick lightning round. What are some last words or words of inspiration that we can leave everybody with?
I think enjoy the time right now while you have it to connect with your family while you can, of course, and maybe reinvigorate your business.
I would say remember to laugh, because it keeps us positive, and look for the positive. We as an event community and creative people, we adapt on a daily basis to things and challenges, and just stay with that and support and encourage each other in our community.
I would say reach out. you don't know what somebody you may have known for a long time, you don't know what they're going through. So just that, hey, checking on you, hey, how's it going? You know, these times it feels, you know, like it's genuine. It is genuine. It's not that it feels genuine. You really honestly want to know what's going on.
I would say, and I guess I like to joke. I think when people laugh, that is what can make a hard event. If you can laugh to an event that sucks, or at least smile, and I don't mean laugh at it like, oh, this sucks, ah, ha, ha. I mean, like, if you can find some type of silver lining at the end of every bad situation, the people that win are people that solve problems. And that's just it. I think everybody that's on this panel is where they are because they don't let an obstacle get in the way of them making that event still special, no matter that the groom was late or one of the catering trucks out of 10 of them broke down coming and we had to get it offloaded to another truck. The biggest thing that I want to take from this situation that has happened to all of us is that I really feel this is what retirement will feel like, only if we had money coming in. So, you know, I mean, I have to, maybe it's just me, but I wake up, like, I know I don't have anywhere to go. Like, it's the most free as I've ever felt because I'm always worried about, not even worried, but I'm always psyched and geeked about the event that I'm doing. Like, that's what brings excitement to me. But we all want to retire at sometime point. Everybody in the world does. So, you know, what does retirement feel like? Not having to worry and care. Besides people dying all over the place with this virus that we can't control, the ease of life that you're at home, Steve. I mean, hell, Jade is sitting outside. I'm jealous. I'm going to take you up on that one. I mean, this is what the life really should be about. And I think we all hustle and bustle, especially in our business, so much that we don't take time to read the books, call those friends that we haven't reached out to. And, you know, I just look at this as a post, like, this is where I want you to get to in life and in personal being. And the money will always come after that. If you're happy, making money becomes a tangible thing that you're not stressed out about doing. And trust me, I stress out a lot. So I'm enjoying these few weeks of whatever this is and looking at how to shape my life to enjoy when this comes back so that I can enjoy both work and life as a being.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this was just such a wonderful and what we believe a much needed conversation for our industry, especially for everybody, you know, in Atlanta. So thank you so much to our panelists for your time this afternoon. To everyone that tuned in, our members and our guests, please continue to take good care of yourselves, your families, your teams. We look forward to seeing everyone on the other side of this, and we hope everybody enjoys the rest of their Wednesday. Thank you all so much.
Happy Hump Day.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Happy Hump
Bye.
Day.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.